Hello, Yoni Health Tech people. It's Dave again. I'm with Brett,
Hey
the
everybody.
CEO of Yoni Health Tech. Once in a rarity, we get the showing of the CEO. Now we're in the middle of tax season. We both work for Intuit. We're TurboTax. So, Brett, how is financial wellness around taxes for you as a preparer now, since now you have some inkling of what it feels like to be on the other end, and as a taxpayer, like everyone else in this world, in our country, USA.
And thanks for this opportunity. I want to acknowledge Junk Powers and Associates has also stood since 2023, the founding of Yoni Health Tech. I just want to acknowledge this here, especially within 2026, because we're here for 2026 and beyond. I don't see this slowing down. If anything, I see us continuing, and not by being fast, not by using technology to outpace our peers. Not here for that. I think more for the overall impact that we can all kind of generate around that, and being able to see that. And what I've discovered so far, and you're right, the rare occurrence of the CEO. I like to still stay more in the limelight, but I also am at discovery, and I'm here for integrity, not just of myself, but my peers. So I'm also seeing that I'm my others. My peers' peer. So and to each of ourselves, and to be able to see too that there's a lot of stuff to discover. There's a lot of stuff you just won't know. There's still stuff I don't know. And it's not that I know it all, nor do I think I ever want to. I think it's in that too that we can really discover together if you want. But I think you also have to kind of get beyond that self, because I mean, I started at self even within small business, in 2021. I was starting with, and it's now I'm no longer with them, which was Uber, to be able to do delivery. I can say that now. If they would, and they're interested again, I want to make a shout out here to Uber. Again, not sponsored at this time in any way, shape, or form, but if they're open to rediscover that, I'm open to that. They kind of helped me kind of see for myself that I could look and be a contractor. And I think there's a lot to being able to be a contractor and see yourself there too, and being able to do work around and discover for yourself. Because I don't know it all. I didn't go to school for this. I didn't have my parents, and some people may think, and I just want this here for clarity too, David. I did not learn anything about tax from my parents. I didn't.
No,
If anything, I was told by any loved ones or anything by that to go to irs.gov and discover for myself. And I would say that to anyone else who's listening to this, because I'll tell you this, and if you can back me up, there's a lot there. Isn't there a lot on that website, David?
well, yes, there is.
And I'm not sponsored by irs.gov.
No,
I'm not,
no,
so
it's
there's a
there is
lot
a
that I
lot.
think I'm not going to be there for the hours that's on there.
Yeah,
It's people
it's
can look,
only
it's
24
self-guided.
7, but a lot of people only take a look at it when they have to pay a bill. So let's
Or tax time. Yeah, you're up to
so
something.
let's
Yeah.
talk about what we're talking about financial wellness, right? This is
Hmm.
part of the pre-launch for the financial wellness course that we have in place for 8 weeks, and it is the one of the seminars that we encourage people to take after the link and it's between um the advanced link, so you can take the link and then take financial wellness. It is
Hmm.
more
Correct.
about how you interact with money and not just swipe a card. We are moving rapidly away from paper cash, fiat wise. We are going into the territory of digital currency completely. We're kind of already halfway there. Um, we have been since I say 1999. We've been there since the inception of the debit card and credit card. So we can say we've been there since the 1950s. Now it looked different. Back in that day, if you had a credit card with the store itself, because that's how it was store credit, you would have to swipe with blue carbon paper or that's why you have carbon copy. Okay, and in emails and whatnot, a lot of people don't know what blind copy and carbon copy is. That this is where that this comes from. The actual carbon copy. A person would put the piece of plastic card on it. They would have that machine that would go back and forth, which would demonstrate that you paid for said purchase and that you would promise to pay your bill. all all of that from the 1950s has now translated into the apps and stuff that we all deal with today on our cell phone. It is different in how it looks, but it's not different on the principle. We, I believe,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that is a whole video series on.
Well, let's
Mm,
no, it is. Well, and let's acknowledge this for our listeners too moving forward. This is going to be a mini series around
yes,
this. So this is just
that,
part
that
one. Yeah, look forward to part
yes,
two.
that is a whole episode on the history of credit, and we can go
And the
and
word, the human
all
word
other
around
and it's
credit
also
and right and fulfilling
yes,
on
and
it.
it's
Yeah.
also considered bartering and stuff. So we will dive into the Chinese ledger system and whatnot, and the Egyptian way of bartering, and Roman and whatnot. Is it you were paid by salt in Roman times? That because that's what was used.
They had, and they had one of the first official tax systems too. That was supposedly what they declared at that time
And so
successful.
so so did the Chinese. The Chinese was the first fiat system
Mhm.
that we know of in humanity, not just European. A lot of people.
All right.
There were two major kingdoms during the time of the Romans: the Mongolian kingdom, which includes the Chinese we know it, or China today, which is the Qin dynasty, and then the Roman kingdom, which would envelop the rest of the world essentially of the Eurasian continent. And then you had Africa. And the Americas were not discovered at the time; they were there, but Mayans also had their own arithmetic and ledgers and whatnot. So South Africa had some things, and I'm sure the South Pacific and Australia, they had their own systems as well. But it's how we deal with money today, more than just swiping your card. Do you get anxious around it? How do you survive with cash or with credit card or debit card or crypto or stocks and bonds today, and how you operate in society on a day-to-day basis? We're not going to have,
I want to
go
jump.
ahead. We
Oh,
we
go
are
ahead.
not going to
Yeah,
check
no, I
your
just
ledger from week to week in this course. This is more of, hey, how are you doing? What are you discovering? Are you keeping your expenses? Are you keeping track of your income or revenue if you're a business, if you're participating as a business? How are you keep tracking of that? Because every quarter for a business, you have to do your reconciliation, just like your regular personal stuff. It's just a little different and a little more cumbersome because there's a little more things that come into play. But we can do that as another financial wellness program. Um, but primarily, this one starting in May will be primary personal income expenses, just as a trial, so that way you can see what it's like. Brett and I have been trying to raise $160 million. We were very close to it. We still have the obstacles that we're facing, but and it's the wellness around the financial transactions and the litigation and banks and
because we got it too. Yeah.
international monies, not United States monies. So we're dealing with that. We're still, so nothing is always complete as we would like it. You know, so and I've tried several times last month and the month before to attempt to finalize it, and it still hasn't. So we are still working on that. Brett, what is going on with you owning health tech and Pete's Financial for you?
Hmm? Yeah. So I want to acknowledge where it is you're talking about too, because I think it has to do with both Peace World Financial and Yoni Health Tech too. It's just the conversations, being able to have individuals, not just ourselves, but individuals, communities, groups, organizations, institutions, and society in the world in general, really stepping out there and being a force, I guess, of disruption, not here of violence. Being able to see that there are things that I think institutions and organizations are doing, so that even if someone is trying to discover in today's world, they may have obstacles, they may have red tape, they may have hoops to the point where is the overall progress? Where is the overall thing they wanted to really bring to the table? And I think it's all of that stuff, that red tape that's kind of getting in the way. Now, don't get me wrong. Am I still here for security? Not only just data, but cyber, cloud computing, all of that. Oh, absolutely. And at the same time, too, I think individuals need to be able to not just have a bunch of access of information from their government, whether it's even for health, whether it's for finances. It's not that. I think it's the disposal of them to be able to discover that out in their communities, so that they can see that there are areas for them to discover that, even at state level. So state and cities, when people pay, say, state and city tax this year for 2025, they can see where that's kind of going. What is that actually doing? And that's the conversation I think that people like you and I want to kind of have, because it's no problem. There's almost a seamless, it seems, system for the government to be able to receive tax, uh, the overall liabilities that other people may have, whether it's at your individual level to pay taxes or not. Hold on and hear me out. And for those who don't know, discover at irs.gov, do your own research. As for 2026, people aren't even going to be able to get a paper check anymore. They're not doing it. They're doing direct deposit. They're mandating it. IRS is. So, and I just had an individual just connect with me not too long ago. They tried to send an address update because businesses change its address. Again, do your own research on this. There is an IRS. When in doubt, look on the IRS's website to see if there's a form for that. But they filled it out, and they went to go send it at a local area that was not USPS. And when they did, they were informed by this. It was a third party that's out there. I'm not going to say the company's names, but one of them said to them, "If this organization does not have a physical address that you have here, then we can't send it. If they don't have a ground address, well, guess what? The actual address for the form for the person to change the address is on the form. So they first verified. They said this entity exists, which was the IRS. And the other individual at the business said, yes, we know that this is. We just cannot deliver this because we don't know if this is the ground address.
Well,
But they do accept, and do your own research too. See if your
is it
place is. Yeah, hold on, let me add this in.
is it a PO box versus a physical address?
No, no,
Okay,
nope.
because a lot of times that.
It's another form. Yeah, it's another form in which people can still send packages and their mailing services out there that is not USPS. So
Correct.
I know, and they still offer USPS services. They still honestly sell the same stuff that USPS does. It's just they are their own business. So, and they were helpful too. They were very helpful, very approachable. Matter of fact, I had a lot of answered questions answered, and I was able to make my own informed decision as an adult, which I think is paramount, especially for anyone being able to discover within business. Is see what it looks like. If you know what it is you want to bring to the table, if you know what it is, and again, check with an overall tax professional, of course. Check with those who you
And
would
and
deem
we do
as
offer
a
those
financial
services.
advisor or whichever it is.
We do offer those services
What's
as
that?
Junk Powers and Associates. So we do business creation consultations. That's one of our services.
I want to hear all this too, but just look. Like it's the other thing too is give your word to something and look. If there's something you enjoy in life, why not? If you want to try this, a side hustle or a gig or a business, I mean, filing companies are going to ask you that question when they're filing. If they're not, bring it up. Bring it up. You're able to do your own due diligence too. That's a very big word, I think, there too. And is to do your own due diligence, to really look there for yourself before you show up and get your taxes prepped too. Imagine that you come with your questions, of course, top of the mind questions, major changes, that kind of stuff, of course. But make sure you kind of show up. Imagine you can show up with more than you need, and then they get to say, we don't even need this, and see what that looks like. And that's being able to see too that once that's taken care of, then you can go out, you can do and create and have those conversations. Because I'm not the only one that's saying this too. Is we as the people of this world, we're just a collection of conversations. Same thing with finances, and I think
Finance
it's the
is
way people can be able to say that
a type of conversation.
it is, yeah, and it comes up within it. It's not the end all be all of the conversation. And I think that's the other thing too is for people with whether they're using online tools, whether they're using AI,
Or hand,
people are really researching. What's
or
that?
by pen and paper. There's people that still do it that way.
Yeah, me too. And there's still abilities that last I checked too, again, do your own research too, you can still paper file too for a lot of cases with the IRS. You may even find that out within tax services. Again, ask them that question if you because there are exclusions. You don't always qualify for stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And I think being able to see that too, people can really take that with them throughout their year, their tax year to plan. And again, we are an option if you want to kind of look into that to see what it is that you could look at, what it is you could, again, we are separate from Intuit. I just want to make sure that's separate here. We are working with them at this time. We are not affiliated or sponsored that I know of at this time. At least I'm not. I can't speak to that. But what I will say is I want to share. You know, I want people to be able to discover this too for themselves and be at, hey, I can allow another person to look into this for me. I can allow, there's a point where others can provide services for you. We are all adults. You know, if you don't want to do your own tax prep, if you don't want to do your own bookkeeping, you know, there are services that are out there, you know, so, and people will use services and whatnot, but know that there are things you can and cannot do too. You know, I'm not here to say, I'm not here to have people break the law, whether state or federal. There are things you can and cannot do when it comes to tax information. Again, look and discover. I'm in no way, shape, or form. I did not go to school for this. You know, I don't have any kind of certificate. But what I do have is my own experience, and I think it's paramount that I can share that. And I really encourage David, not just you and I, but everyone else who is listening that maybe has a pre-existing business to go out and encourage your peers, be there for them in whatever way, but also set your own boundaries with them so they can discover for themselves. Because unless you have, you know, and this again, check on irs.gov, unless you are what's called a partnership, unless you are what is a multi-member LLC, and you've said that to them, you have that in documentation, then then you don't have a word around it. You know, you got to have those conversations in regards to this. You can't just show up at tax time and go, "Hey, this is the way things were. This is it," and have nothing.
Yeah, you have to have
That
your
doesn't work.
documentation. And even if you're doing personal
Yeah,
expenses, whatnot, you have to be able to prove it.
and there's a lot of stuff this year. I just want to acknowledge, like, there is a lot, especially at state and local tax right now this year for people who are either at personal and at business. Look and discover. You have to see if you qualify. I will say that over and over and over and over again because not everybody
No,
qualifies.
and,
You
and,
have to
and it
see.
depends on what
But it
it is.
doesn't mean you can't look. Doesn't mean you can't look.
So let's talk about the one big beautiful bill, the OBBB.
And for those others who call it the tax changes, because there are both. But yes, go ahead.
So the major portion that people wanted to know is how is my overtime counted? The-
Yeah, that's a big one this
yes,
year.
you can claim up to 12,500 if you're single, or you can claim up to 25,000 if you're married filing jointly. Married filed singly is treated as single. Okay. With that being said, you need either your W 2 or your last pay stub in 2025, typically December, with your year to date total of how much overtime you actually received. You must have it because you're going to be asked to prove it.
And know how much to, if you did work overtime and you know you worked overtime and it's not on that W 2, it's still going to be, imagine it's already
Yeah,
income.
right.
So
So that's
keep
why I
track
said
of that, bring it
your last
up,
pay
and then
stub.
mention that to your tax expert.
Correct. So you have to prove that.
There's a lot. This might be part of the other series too, David, is we will mention what kind of stuff to, common questions people may have. Because also I'm seeing out, I've read, I look on social media too, and there are services, tax services that aren't finding stuff, that aren't asking things. And at the same time too, I think it's the other thing too, is as they are expanding, because I think businesses everywhere, regardless if they're tax prep or not, are expanding. They're trying new things on. I think it's really paramount to set up whoever is trying that on for success. Is there anything you'd like to kind of share around that, David?
Always ask questions. Um, the biggest things I've determined over my time of doing taxes is if two people are separated, whether legally or divorced, and one person is trying to claim the dependence over the other, you will have to paper file, both of you. And then the IRS will determine, typically the mother, but not always, will get the benefits, typically. This is how that works. But
Work out an agreement. Imagine that too. If there is a dependent issue, because that's a potential tax break. Again, do your own research. You have to see if you qualify. But if you don't have an agreement, you can't show up to your tax expert and be like, "Hey, like, uh, I'm the one claiming. Okay, did you see if they'll see if you qualify? It's not just imaginarily that you're
yeah,
there.
yeah,
You know, if you
you
have
have
an
to.
agreement,
Yeah.
some people too, they work it out. Some people only take odd years than they claim, or evens, and they can work that. I have an agreement, because imagine you can show up when you have your taxes prepped and you have that, because that's one reason to get your taxes rejected. And not all rejections are bad, but that's definitely one reason. If you're not the one who's supposed to claim, it will get rejected. Usually. Again, do your own research. Another one I want to mention while we're on this: love furry friends, love pets. They're not dependents. If
Unfortunately,
you have a social security number for them, with that, yeah, go ahead.
unfortunately not. I wish they were.
Not at this time.
Yeah. Unless you,
Write to your
unless
state
you
legislator
own a
and see what you can discover.
business, and then they may.
Yeah. Can I want to take some time here too, David, to talk about retirement. I'm grateful too. I want to acknowledge this at the position where I'm at seasonally. Uh, I got to discover there was an individual, and they got to see at state law that for their retirement that they were eligible to have. They were, I believe, it was a credit that they could have that lowered the amount of their income for that year that was taxed. Now, this was only in that state. So talk with your state
So
legislators,
what
talk
state
with your
was it?
people at City Hall, get in there, let them know this.
What state was it?
It was Wisconsin,
Okay.
and yet she had to qualify.
What's the
Not everybody that's in retirement can have it. But yeah, and there's a cap. It's not all of it. There's a cap. There's a phase out if you have a certain amount. But keep going. What's there for you?
So Social Security? Anything under $25,000 is not taxed. Anything over $25,000 is taxed at 50%.
Mhm.
If you have income that goes way over and above your Social Security, that includes investments, ints, divs, cryptocurrency, and that kind of thing.
But you will have a 1099 form for all of these. And
Yeah,
if you don't know, contact your
it's,
financial
so
institution
it's a 1099. Int
or log
is
online.
typically your savings account. Your 1099 div is a combination of your dividends from your stocks and bonds. Your 1099 DA is your cryptocurrency this year, which also includes your 1099 Bs. And your 1099 Bs also include your stocks and bonds. Okay, I am not going through and discussing anything here. Do your own research for those forms.
And then only other one I want to add in there too is the 1099-R, which is for
The
those in
10,
retirement.
the
If you don't know it, again, your
1099R
financial institutions.
is
Yep. Yep.
typically a composite of all of what I just spoke about. Okay? Your 1099R, depending on its designation, which could be a 401k, a 403b, a 457b, or a pension.
Or a backdoor Roth, right?
That's different.
Are
That's
those in now
different.
too?
That's different. That
Okay, we'll get to that.
The Roth IRA is a type of IRA in which you pay taxes up front instead of the traditional IRA, which is typically how the 401k, 403b, 457b work. Typically. That in itself is another conversation. Um, you need to start taking your required minimum distribution as of the age of 59 and a half. If you take it before that, you get taxed at 10 or 20%, depending on the amount. It's a penalty. They discourage you to do that. But if you do not take your required minimum distributions out after 59 and a half, they will penalize you at 10%. So there are incentives built into an IRA, 1099 R, IRA, 401k, 457b, yeah, and the like. So,
Yeah, make it work. Make it
yeah.
work, you know?
So be careful on what state you retire into. Some states treat retirement income as income. Other states do not. Do your research.
Don't don't just find out at tax time.
No,
Yes,
'cause
yes.
you will be held accountable for that tax payment if
Look now. If this is your first time, look now. Go on irs.gov. Like literally, just have a deep dive.
actually
Just discover what you want. I know. Go
it's
wild.
not
I'm requesting it.
irs.gov. It is whatever Department of Revenue in which your state is.
Which you may be able to find it. I'll look. If you can't find it on irs.gov, like you said too, you can check on your state's website
Correct.
too. They do have a
That's why
Department
I'm
of
saying
Revenue too.
it.
You're right.
Because
Thank you.
you
Thank you.
and also check your local municipality if you need to have things withheld. The biggest problems I see as a tax preparer regarding retirement income, they do not withhold the required amount for taxes. So then you then get surprise hit with the distributions and whatnot that you take out, which is taxed at 15 to 22% depending on the amount. This is all easily rectified before April 15th by contacting either one of us or through TurboTax or another tax software. Please see your tax professional, whichever, or CPA, because you will save a lot of headache and a lot of runaround.
Yeah, that's true. And ask the questions now. Start up. And find all your documents before you show up. I think that's a big one because some people they'll show up and they don't have it all. They don't have their documents ready. Have your ID that you would use. Make sure it's not expired.
Yeah.
Right. Look into all that kind of stuff too.
So
That's something to because imagine showing up and having that.
it is
So we're just here to acknowledge it.
it is the 6th of March. You have roughly 40 days to file.
Yes, you have 39. Yep, you're right. 39 days. I was muted. 39 days, 7 hours, 5 minutes.
If you owe to the IRS or to one of your state departments of revenue, you can put an extension in on the April 15th, but if you do owe, you will have at least 8% interest on the amount you owe until October 15th. So just be aware that it does start around June 6th when that interest starts.
Mhm. And we get this can be a stressful time. We get it can even be frustrating when you're trying to have things that may come up. Just imagine you show up with more than you need, and imagine that at the end you get the best possible outcome that you would like when
Correct.
it comes to what it is what we can discover. And if not, you find that you discover that for yourself and you make your own decision because imagine you get that out of the way and you have the rest of your year. You have the rest of whatever it is you want to bring to
Unless
society,
you're a business
whatever you want
doing
to bring into the
quarterly
world.
payments.
unless you're correct. Yes, but even then, you can still provide all the services you want to be able to provide, but you still want to be within compliance too. Because imagine that's already done, it's in the background, and now you're back at where it is you want to be, where it is that you're creating, wherever it is that you want to create, whether it's your business, whether it's your own just personal experience, going and finally getting that refund and going on a vacation if that's what you want, or paying that credit card bill that you've been wanting to be able to pay.
There are times where if you need to rediscover a partnership that you have formed and you need to dissolve it, there are ways you can do it. Okay? So this isn't like it's forever. A partnership is a lot different than a single member LLC. It's also different than an S Corp and different from a C Corp. And I know the
Just do
difference
your own
between,
research.
yes. And we do offer that at $1,500 to start with.
Mhm. And all the information we've given you too, and more, along with other episodes, can be found on the Yoni Health Tech website. And also, we are also on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, you
LinkedIn.
name it, so far. iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, if you listen to that, that's another one. Pandora, we're on there too.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks again, and again, we'll look forward to part two of this series. Thanks again, Jung Powers and Associates, for go ahead and sponsoring this.